The benefits of hanging banners, okay, because obviously one of the themes surrounding the University of Utah football program this year, and Joel Klatt this morning tweeted out his top 10 college football teams, and the University of Utah made the list and didn't prior to with Joel Klatt, and now they're in the top 10. So it's just another big-name college football analyst, and I think Klatt's incredible. I think he does a great job hyping the University of Utah football program. So what I wanted to dig into a little bit today, and I was reading around a little bit, the benefits of hanging banners, not the benefits of being a good football team or competing in the Pac-12, the benefits of winning championships. So, JP, if I just asked you off the top of your head and without doing any research, just somebody who's loved sports your entire life, what are some benefits in your mind if the University of Utah wins the Pac-12, goes to the college football playoff? How does that benefit the program?
You get to be on the national stage. Herbie's talking about you. Fowler's at your game. You get the big people around college football discussing your program, and you get to see little old Utah be on the national stage, which rarely happens sometimes.
So it does differ from sport to sport and from league to league. Obviously, college, much different than pro as far as what happens with the revenue. I mean, in the NBA, you win a title, the players get extreme bonuses, some more than others, depending on how the contract's negotiated. The economic value of winning a championship can be a little bit overstated. There's a study that was done by Robert Bade, who's a professor at Lake Forest College in Lake Forest, Illinois. It's called The Paradox of Championships. Be careful, sports fans, for what you wish for. The economic stimulus, as it were, when it comes to a team winning a title for the community can be a little bit overrated. And specifically the economic benefits for the organization and the team itself. It actually, when you read the study, what it does do is the stimulus does take place in the community, but it doesn't necessarily take place for the organization every single time. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. The study actually, when you read it, it's somewhat inconclusive. But if I just say, if the Jazz won a championship, people probably would automatically assume, well then, the Miller family must make just a ton of extra money, and the Jazz just the business of basketball must just skyrocket right through the roof. Well, that's not necessarily true. It is in some ways. Your revenue streams can be diversified, and you can actually bring in some money from some spots that otherwise weren't there before. But the economic stimulus can be a little bit overrated. But what JP is talking about is the brand awareness shoots right through the roof, and that can lead to some other revenue streams. But, for instance, there are RSL fans all over the place when it comes to the MLS community, and prior to 2009, that wasn't the case. And then after RSL won the Cup, if you went to other stadiums, our road crowds actually went right through the roof. And a lot of people maybe right now don't remember what the Golden State Warriors were like before Steph and Clay and Draymond, but they had some fun years with Run TMC back in the day, Tim Hardaway, as well as Chris Mullin, Mitch Richmond, and then, the fun years with Monte Ellis and Steven Jackson, but they were never this. And now you can't go anywhere in the NBA without seeing a Warriors jersey. Even if the Warriors aren't playing, dudes will show up in a Steph jersey or a Clay jersey or whatever. And so the brand awareness certainly shoots right up through the roof. And I can tell you this, a lot of people, and it's kind of funny, you can follow this on social media, like a lot of people in this state, if they go to, let's just say, Disneyland, they'll play a game, like they'll count BYU jerseys and Utah jerseys. And I can tell you this, up until 10, 15 years ago, it was no contest. And now you'll see a lot more University of Utah jerseys if you go around the country on vacation. If Utah wins the Pac-12, the brand awareness will just shoot through the roof, okay? And again, a little of this is apples and oranges, with NBA, NFL, comparing it to college football, because the players obviously don't see any of the revenue. Here's the rub. The school certainly does. Okay, the athletic department does. The program does. And I'm not trying to get into the muddy waters of a conversation about should players get paid, because if you think they shouldn't, you're just not paying attention to what happens when the rich get richer as a result of these kids carrying the program on their back to a championship. The coaches get bonuses. The athletic director gets bonuses. The institution sees the money. The athletic program sees the money. The football program sees the money. The kids don't. It's silly, but that's not really where I'm going. So the economic stimulus that happens in collegiate sports is also real. It's just a little bit different. It changes your recruiting footprint, okay? Suddenly, if you win the Pac-12 championship and if you're in the college football playoff, as JP alluded to, Kirk Herbstreit, Joel Klatt, College Game Day, ESPN, FS1. Everybody's writing about you. Everybody's talking about you. And there are fringe benefits to that. Let's be very clear. Okay, when you go down to Texas, and Utah's actually recruited Texas pretty well, or Florida, what have you, the college football hotbed, suddenly you can go down south and you can go into a living room and talk to a young kid who just met with Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney. And if you're Kyle Whittingham, suddenly you have a seat at that table. Now, you may not have a seat at the front of the table because Saban's probably going to get who he wants to get. And the same thing at this point can be said of Dabo Swinney as well. You win a Pac-12 championship, you go to the college football playoff, the parents of that child will open the door for you, whereas a year ago, you don't have a seat at that table. That's a benefit, okay? Here's another benefit. A television network like an ESPN or an FS1, ABC, Fox, whatever it is, okay, whoever's televising college football, instead of saying, yeah, I wouldn't mind the University of Utah on the network, and let's put them on a Friday night game at 8:30 or a Thursday night game at 10. Instead of that, ESPN will say, oh, yeah, they won the Pac-12 last year. They were in the college football playoff a year ago. Let's go Saturday at 2. Let's put them right before the Bama game. Suddenly your primetime television on the Big Boy Network instead of 10:30 on a Thursday night on ESPN 8, the Ocho, as it were. I mean, these things are real, okay? And so the reason I wanted to bring this up is it seems like a lot of people just throw it out there like, oh, if Utah wins the Pac-12 and goes to the college football playoff, it might be kind of nice. No, it changes the bottom line of your program. And in professional sports, when you win a title, suddenly it changes. Like when you hear players say they want to win a title so badly, of course, they want to be at that table with other players that have a ring. Isaiah Thomas gave an interview recently about this, like talking about how his career would have been incomplete if he didn't have that ring. So they're the intangible benefits, like players feeling good about themselves and coaches saying, okay, I am one of those coaches that could coach a team to a title. But, JP, it ups the bottom line of your program on 9 or 10 different levels if you're actually able to do it.
And if you do it, you get to get that just boost of the joy of a fan just seeing their team win a title.
Another intangible benefit, yeah.
I remember watching RSL in Seattle as the rain was coming down, seeing Landon Donovan sky a penalty kick that hit the crane behind the goal of Nick Raimondo, and the joy that we all felt as some people rode a bus all the way up there,
right,
as the entire red section in the upper deck of CenturyLink Field. It felt so great to get to that point where finally Salt Lake got a championship, and it was because of Real Salt Lake.
And that is a beautiful intangible benefit, like it truly is, because when it comes to your fans feeling like they've been a part of something special, that indissolubly links them to you for the rest of their sporting life, and which means this. Okay, this goes from the intangible to the tangible. Next season, when you send out an email saying we need you to renew season tickets, guess what our renewal rate was after 2009? It was like 98%. Guess what it was before that? Like 65. So the intangible turns into the tangible. A fan who takes the trip up to Seattle to watch RSL win the Cup, or let's say you're a Utah fan who goes to the Rose Bowl or whatever it is, if it's a college football playoff situation, and you watch Utah, let's say, beat Ohio State, or you watch Utah, heaven forbid, beat Clemson or Bama. I mean, even though Clemson or Bama seem to be like 3 or 4 levels above everybody else, you're at that game, you're with your son, you're with your children, you're with your family. Guess what? Utah just made you a season ticket holder for life. Okay, you're going to mortgage your house. You're going to take a second job to make sure you have season tickets to the University of Utah. Do you understand what I'm saying here? What I'm saying is a Pac-12 championship and potentially a seat of the college football playoff isn't just for the feel-goods of everybody. Yes, it makes men legends. Yes, it makes Kyle Whittingham a legend. Yes, an NBA championship would make Quinn Snyder a legend, and Donovan and Rudy and all those guys. Men instantly become a legend. Never have to pay for a meal in Salt Lake anymore. Never have to pay for a car in Salt Lake anymore. Not that Kyle has to do that anyway. But yes, men become instantly legends, but at the same time, there are so many benefits outside of the intangibles, the feel-goods, the brand awareness, the hanging of the banners. There are so many benefits outside of the things that just instantly come to mind that seem a little bit obvious, way more than meets the eye. And it happens in every sport on every level. A organization and a fan base and a team instantly changes as soon as that clock says 0 and you have more points than the other team and you're a champion. Everything changes instantly. And that's what's at stake for the University of Utah. And that's why we continue to talk about it. It's not like, hey, it's fun to have some preseason hype here. And it's cool that Lee Corso and Brett McMurphy and Joel Klatt and whoever else it is look at little old Salt Lake City and say, Kyle Whittingham's boys can play with anybody in the country. All that's fun. And it makes for some fun sports talk fodder. What it means, though, to the bottom line of an institution, and these days, college athletics, specifically football, can up the bottom line of your entire school, not just the football facility. Case in point, if you went to the University of Utah like I did in the mid-'90s, late 90s, walk up to that campus right now. If you haven't been there since you went to school back in the day 20 years ago, walk up there and I dare you to close your eyes and open it and tell me where you are because it looks nothing like it did 20 years ago. And the expansion and explosion kind of coincided with the Pac-12 invite. You have a football team that brings in revenue, it changes your school. You have an athletic program that brings in revenue and brings eyes on your institution, it changes everything. So